You're not losing because of your strategy. You're losing because you're at war with yourself. Trading is one of the only professions in the world where your biggest enemy isn't the market, it's your mind. This video won't teach you a new entry setup. It's not about indicators or win rates. It's about the hidden forces that sabotage you from within. Fear, addiction, unhealed wounds, the ghosts you've been trading with all along. If you've ever blown an account you swore you'd protect, if you've ever watched yourself break rules you wrote, this isn't just a video, it's a mirror. Welcome to the dark side of trading psychology. Let's begin. I want you to picture this. It's 2:47 in the morning. The world is asleep. My wife is upstairs, resting, trusting that I'm downstairs building our future. My kids are in their beds, dreaming, safe, warm, and unaware that their father just wiped out their college funds. The only light in the room comes from 6 monitors. But they're not lighting the way forward. They're lighting the wreckage. Real-time destruction, pixel by pixel, on the screen, $2,137,431. Negative. Not a typo, not a demo account. Real money, gone. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. My hands had stopped shaking hours ago. I wasn't even human anymore. Just a hollow shell staring at numbers that no longer looked real, like I had slipped into someone else's nightmare and forgotten how to wake up. But here's the part that no one talks about. I did everything right. I had the discipline. I had the rules. I journaled. I meditated. I had a trading plan that looked like a military dossier. I checked every box and still blew up. Twice. It took losing $2 million to realize that the problem wasn't my system, it was me. See, most trading education tells you the same things. Control your emotions, stick to your strategy, be disciplined, and you believe it because it sounds logical, because it gives you a sense of control. But here's what no one ever told me, and maybe no one's told you either. Discipline is not the solution. Discipline is the disguise. It's the mask you wear when you're trying to outrun your true self. Because the moment your life is on the line, when the mortgage is due, when the bills are piling up, when someone you love is sick and you need the trade to work, the disciplined trader disappears and someone else shows up. For me, it was the terrified husband, the desperate father, the man willing to bet the future on a single trade just to make the pain stop. That was the night I understood what no book ever told me. The market doesn't test your strategy. It reveals your identity. It exposes you. It peels back every layer you've built and drags the real you onto the screen. And most of us, we don't even know who that person is until it's too late. You think you're trading the market? No. You're trading yourself, your beliefs, your fears, your wounds. And when those wounds go unexamined, unhealed, they start to trade for you. The market is a mirror. Every trade reflects what you believe you deserve. And if deep down you believe you're not worthy of wealth, if you believe money is hard or dangerous or fleeting, you will find a way to give it back. Every time. I used to think the market was against me, that I was unlucky, that I just needed better risk management. But the truth? The market was always neutral. It was me who was unstable. It was me who wasn't ready to hold what I said I wanted. $2 million wasn't the price of failure. It was the cost of clarity. Because until that night, I had never truly met myself. I had met the trader version of me. The one with the goals and the plans and the checklists. The one who sounded smart on Twitter and quoted Sun Tzu in his journal. But under pressure, that version crumbled. And the real me came out, the version I had spent years trying to outrun. And the scariest part? That version was the one trading my account the entire time. I just didn't know it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked back at a trade and thought, who the hell was I when I did that? Exactly. Because you don't just have one trader inside you. You have many. The confident planner, the anxious risk taker, the revenge seeker, the FOMO addict. As you cycle through them depending on your emotional state, and every one of them has access to your capital. Think about it. Monday morning, you're Warren Buffett. Tuesday afternoon, you're a casino junkie. By Friday close, you're an emotional wreck looking to hurt something. No wonder you're inconsistent. You're not one trader. You're 5, all fighting over one account. And the market? It doesn't care which version shows up. It just reflects them back to you. Here's the hard truth. Until you meet the trader inside you, the one who shows up under pressure when everything is on the line, you will keep blowing up. you will keep repeating the same cycle because the enemy isn't volatility. It isn't the Fed. It isn't manipulation. It's the version of you that still thinks money will fix your emptiness. That night, 2:47 a.m., I lost everything. But I also found something far more valuable than any win. I found the truth. And truth doesn't care about your ego. It doesn't care how many followers you have. It doesn't care how clean your charts look. It only wants one thing from you: to stop lying, to stop pretending you're fine, to stop performing discipline and start confronting identity. So if you're still here, still listening, ask yourself, who's really trading my account? Because until you answer that, no amount of strategy will save you. It gets darker before it gets lighter. But darkness is where truth lives. Let's keep going. Let me take you back to December 3rd, 2020. I remember the date like a scar, not because it was the worst trading day of my life, but because it was the day I finally understood what was really happening to me. Down 80%. One trade left before the margin call. And there I was, sitting in a silent room, staring at a cold coffee mug, ignoring 47 missed calls from my broker, listening to my neighbor mow his lawn like the world was still normal. But inside me, nothing was normal, because I wasn't just preparing to place a trade, I was preparing to end the illusion that I had control, that I was disciplined, that I still had a chance. I was about to click buy, not because the setup made sense, but because I was done pretending. It wasn't a trade, it was a suicide note, clicked instead of written, a final act of surrender wrapped in the illusion of strategy. But here's the sick part. I felt relief. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe. Because once the account went to zero, at least the torture would stop. At least I wouldn't have to lie to myself anymore. No more hoping, no more forcing, no more performing. Rock bottom is strangely peaceful. When you've lost everything, you don't have to fear losing anymore. It's over. The war inside goes quiet, and that silence can feel like comfort. You think most traders are trying to win? No. Most traders are trying to prove that they deserve to lose. That's the heart of self-sabotage. Not clumsiness, not weakness, but deep, unconscious commitment to your own destruction. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That revenge trade you told yourself was strategy, that was a cry for punishment. That FOMO entry you justified because it felt right, that was a desperate need to feel something. That stop loss you kept adjusting, then telling yourself the market was just being weird, that was self-harm dressed up as hope. You're not bad at trading. You're just very, very good at hurting yourself without realizing it. And let me say this with all the compassion in the world. It's not your fault. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're wounded. And those wounds, they run deeper than trading. You didn't start sabotaging last month or last year. You've been practicing self-destruction for decades. It started young. Maybe you saw your parents fight about bills. Maybe you watched your mom check prices at the grocery store and put items back with a fake smile. Maybe you saw your dad crumble when the credit card statement came in. You weren't old enough to understand economics, but you were young enough to absorb the fear. And that fear, it became a script, a silent programming you've been running ever since. Money is hard. Success is temporary. Struggle is noble. Suffering equals virtue. So fast forward 20 years, you're sitting in front of a trading screen, a trade goes green too fast, and your subconscious whispers, this is too easy. Something's wrong. You didn't earn this. You don't deserve this. Better give it back before life takes it from you. So you do. You sabotage it. Not because you want to lose, but because losing feels familiar. And what's familiar feels safe. That's the trap. We don't sabotage because we hate success. We sabotage because success threatens the identity we've built around struggle. We are addicted to the pain we understand because at least we know who we are when we lose. That's the darkest part of psychology. You can learn every strategy, every system, every indicator. But until you face this truth, you'll keep burning accounts like sacrificial offerings to your past. The second law of trading psychology is this. Every blown stop loss is a suicide note from your past self. Let that sink in. Your stop loss isn't just a technical point. It's a psychological mirror, a moment where the ghost of your childhood scripts shows up and says, see, you were never meant to have money. This is your fate. This is how the story ends. But here's the truth. That voice isn't prophecy. It's programming. And programming can be rewritten, but not by reading more books, not by downloading another risk management spreadsheet. It starts by asking one terrifying question. Why am I so committed to destroying myself? And if you're brave enough to answer it, if you're honest enough to face the version of you that keeps reaching for the flame, you'll realize something shocking. You've never been afraid of failure. You've been afraid of freedom. Because freedom means responsibility. Freedom means letting go of old pain. Freedom means saying, I deserve ease, I deserve success, I deserve to win. And for someone raised to believe that struggle is noble and money is evil, that level of freedom feels unbearable. So you return to the pain you know, until you don't, until you decide, enough. You are not here to relive your trauma through candlestick charts. You are not here to punish yourself for your past. You are not here to prove that your parents were right when they said money ruins people. You are here to evolve, to trade with clarity, to succeed without guilt, to rewrite the script not just in your trading journal, but in your entire life. So the next time you feel that old urge to click a trade you know you shouldn't, to chase a loss that makes no sense, to shrink in the face of profit, stop. Ask yourself, am I trading right now, or am I just reliving pain? Because once you see the difference, you'll never trade the same way again. And that's where the real work begins. If you've ever wondered why logic disappears when the candles turn red, it's time to meet the part of your brain that doesn't care about money, only survival. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever looked back at a trade you placed, one that made no logical sense, and thought, what the hell was I thinking? I'll tell you what you were thinking. You weren't. You weren't trading from your strategy. You weren't trading from your plan. You were trading from a part of your brain that doesn't care about money, logic, or long-term success. It only cares about one thing: survival. Let me introduce you to the truth no trading book teaches. No backtest reveals, no guru mentions on YouTube. You have not one brain, but three, and all three are trading. Trader number one, the reptile, the oldest part of your brain, the brainstem, 500 million years old. It's fast, primitive, pure instinct. It knows fight, flight, or freeze. It reacts in microseconds before you even realize you're reacting. It can't comprehend charts, patterns, or probabilities, but it knows fear, it knows threat. And when that red candle drops hard on your screen, that reptile brain thinks it's a tiger lunging at your throat. Within 0.02 seconds, your amygdala fires. Cortisol floods your system. Your heart races. Your breath shortens. Your vision narrows. And worst of all, blood literally drains away from your prefrontal cortex, the place where your trading plan lives. You're not trading with logic anymore. You're trading with the IQ of a cornered lizard. Trader number two, the mammal. The limbic system, 150 million years old. This is the emotional brain. It remembers how you felt after a trade. It craves pleasure, avoids pain, and cares deeply about status, social approval, and tribal connection. It doesn't want you to win a good trade. It wants you to feel good about yourself. This is the brain that makes you chase green days, the one that gets euphoric after a win, the one that panics when you're down 5% and wants to get it back before your partner finds out. The mammal brain treats trading like tribal warfare. Every win is a badge of honor. Every loss is a threat to identity, and it'll do anything, to not feel shame. Trader number three, the human, the neocortex, just 200,000 years old. This is the logical, strategic part. It writes your rules, it designs your system, it journals, it analyzes. This is the brain you think is trading, but the one that's almost always offline when things get real. Because when your body thinks it's under attack, your access to this brain disappears. Imagine that. The part of you responsible for making rational decisions literally shuts down the moment you need it most. And now you understand the tragedy of trading. We design strategies for the human, we manage emotions for the mammal. But when the heat comes on, the reptile takes the wheel. And you wonder why you can't stay disciplined? You're trying to outthink a system that reacts before thought even begins. No amount of affirmations, positive mindset, or motivational quotes can override 500 million years of evolutionary wiring. When your account goes red fast, your brain doesn't see a dip, it sees death. And you try to stay calm, Your reptile laughs because it's already moved you into survival mode. That's why most traders fail. Not because they're stupid, not because their system sucks, but because they haven't trained the only part of themselves that actually pulls the trigger under pressure. The reptile doesn't read trading books. It doesn't listen to webinars. It doesn't care about your risk to reward ratio. It only responds to one thing: conditioning. That's why cold showers work. That's why breath work matters. That's why emotional resilience isn't optional. It's foundational. You're not just building strategy, you're building nervous system capacity, because your trading results don't come from your best days, they come from your worst ones. And on your worst day, the only trader present is your reptile. Let me give you a practical example. I had a routine. Every morning at 4:47 a.m., I'd step into an ice cold shower, not for wellness, not for TikTok likes, but to train the most powerful trader in my mind. At second 15, panic. At second 30, resistance. At second 45, surrender. At second 60, power. By the time I reached my desk, my body had already been through the worst it would face that day. A red candle can't scare someone who chose hypothermia before sunrise. That's not motivation. That's biology. So here's the uncomfortable truth. If you're trying to fix your trading by downloading more PDFs, watching more chart analysis, or memorizing more candlestick patterns, you're solving the wrong problem. The reptile doesn't speak strategy, it speaks sensation. If you don't train your body to stay calm under threat, you'll keep trading from fear, and you'll keep finding ways to lose. The good news? This can change. The reptile can be trained, the mammal can be soothed, the human can lead, if you create the conditions. Start your day with stress you choose: ice, silence, stillness, intention. Then when the stress you don't choose shows up, the bad trade, the losing streak, the fake out, you won't collapse. You'll breathe. You'll wait. You'll execute. Not as a lizard or a scared child, but as a calm, clear, sovereign human, the trader you were meant to be. But even if you master your fear, there's one more enemy waiting, and this one wears a smile: the illusion of success. You think losing is the enemy? It's not. Success is. Let me explain. Most traders are terrified of failure, but they should be terrified of what happens when they finally win, because failure humbles you. Failure makes you careful. Failure reminds you that you're not invincible. But success is seductive. It's quiet. It doesn't shout, it whispers. You've figured it out. You're not like the rest. You've arrived. And that's when the real danger begins. Let me tell you about Marcus. Former military, disciplined, precise, the kind of guy who wakes up at 4 a.m. and makes his bed with hospital corners. He spent 2 years perfecting his trading system, journaled every entry, back-tested like a machine, paper traded until his wrist hurt. Then it clicked. 8 months in, he made $120,000, his first six-figure profit. I'll never forget the call. I did it, man. I fucking did it. I'm finally a trader. His voice cracked. He was crying. It was the moment he'd worked for, bled for. 6 months later, different call. I lost it all. More than all, I owe my broker $30,000. Same system, same market, different human. What changed? Not the strategy, not the conditions. What changed was him. Success had done what failure never could. It corrupted him. Because here's what no one tells you. Success is more psychologically dangerous than losing. When you're losing, you stay humble, you respect the market, you question yourself, you learn, you adapt. But when you're winning, your ego steps in, subtly, quietly, like smoke under the door. Suddenly you start increasing position size. I've earned it. You skip analysis. I already know. You move your stop loss. I can feel it. You break your rules. Those were for before. I'm different now. And just like that, the very thing that brought you success becomes the first thing you abandon. Humility, process, discipline. You start trading from belief, not behavior, from identity, not edge, from emotion, not evidence. I'm a winner now, I've made it. That thought is a countdown to destruction. The market is patient. It lets you win just long enough to believe you're special. Then it doesn't just take your money, it takes your certainty. It takes your image. It takes the version of you that thought you were untouchable and shatters it. 2019, I made $500,000. 2020, I lost $1.2 million. Same system, same trader, not even close. The difference was this. In 2019, I was a student. In 2020, I was a prophet. I stopped analyzing. I started predicting. I stopped respecting the process. I started believing in magic. And the market punished me, not for being wrong, but for thinking I couldn't be. Because the moment you believe you're above the system, you've already lost the game. That's why now, after every profitable month, I do something that sounds insane to most traders. I practice losing. I open a sim account and deliberately take 10 bad trades in a row. Not to test a strategy, not to learn market structure, but to feel the sting again, to reconnect with humility, to taste the pain before it tastes me. And you know what? It works because it reminds my ego, you are not the market. You are not chosen. You are not special. You are just someone who follows a system. When you forget that, you start to trade as if you deserve to win. But the market doesn't care what you think you deserve. It only reflects your behavior. And the moment you stop respecting the process, you give the market permission to take everything. Let me offer you something real: the humility protocol. After your next winning week, write down 10 ways the market could destroy you next week. Not to attract failure, not to manifest disaster, but to stay human. Write things like, overconfidence leads to overtrading. FOMO after strong week causes bad entries. Skipping journaling's hidden pattern blindness. Believing I'm hot's punishment incoming. Name the traps before you fall into them. Because the only thing more dangerous than a trader in a losing streak is a trader who just had his best month ever. Let me say this as clearly as I can. Success is not your reward, it's your next test. And if you're not prepared to meet success with the same humility you met failure, you will lose it. Maybe not today, maybe not this month, but eventually and completely. The market doesn't punish ambition, it punishes arrogance. So the next time you hit a streak, celebrate, then surrender. Smile, then reflect. Win, then reset. Because your system didn't make you rich, your humility did. And it's the only thing that will keep you that way. But what if success isn't the only thing sabotaging you? What if you're not trading for money at all, but for the high? They say trading is a business, a skill, a profession, a path to financial freedom. But for most people, trading is something else entirely: a drug, not metaphorically, biologically, neurologically, literally. Let me explain. Dopamine is the molecule of motivation, desire, pursuit. Not pleasure, anticipation. It fires not when you get the reward, but when your brain thinks a reward might be coming. You know what triggers dopamine the most? Uncertainty. And you know what's the most uncertainty-filled activity on Earth? Trading. Every time you place a trade, win, lose, or break even, you're feeding your brain the same variable reward system used by casinos, slot machines, and social media platforms. That ping you feel when a candle moves fast, that little rush when your position flirts with profit, that tightness in your chest before news release, that's not strategy. That's chemical addiction. Let me tell you how I knew I was hooked. 3:17 a.m. I wasn't even in a trade, but I woke up just in time for the Asian session open. Not because I set an alarm, but because my body knew. My body needed it. I grabbed my phone, just checking. Euro USD had moved 30 pips. No trade placed, no setup confirmed. But my heart was pounding. Not from fear, not from greed, from possibility. That maybe, just maybe, I was missing something. Something that could be mine if I just stayed awake a little longer. 4:45 a.m., still watching, still scrolling. My wife stirred next to me. "You okay?" she mumbled. "Yeah, just bathroom." I took my phone with me. By 6 a.m., I hadn't slept, again. But I didn't care, because the charts were more real than reality. Candlesticks became my language. Tickers became my comfort zone. The market became my only relationship that made sense. Not because I loved it, but because I was using it. We don't talk about this in trading communities because we like to dress it up. We call it passion. We call it hustle. We call it being dedicated to the craft. But let's call it what it really is: addiction in a suit. Gambling wrapped in spreadsheets. A dopamine loop we mistake for purpose. Let me show you the signs. Do you check charts outside trading hours, even when you told yourself you wouldn't? Do you feel bored or restless when the market is closed? And do you open a position just to feel something, not because it fits your system? Do you panic when you're in profit and sabotage it because the trade is too quiet? If you said yes, you're not trading. You're chasing a chemical. Here's how I knew I hit bottom. I couldn't enjoy a meal without checking my phone. I couldn't hear my kids laugh without being annoyed by the noise. I started treating my family like distractions, as if they were interrupting my real life, the market. But it wasn't life I was chasing, it was stimulation, the hit, the rush of maybe, the surge of possibility, the illusion of control. And just like any addict, I needed more to feel less. That's why just take a break doesn't work, because the silence, it's deafening. The boredom, it's unbearable. When you're addicted to dopamine, peace feels like death. So you open another trade, scroll another chart, redraw another line, pretend you're being productive, when in reality, you're just scratching the itch. Let me show you what withdrawal looks like. Day 1, hands shaking. Day 2, anxiety attacks every hour. Day 3, dreams of candlesticks. Day 5, angry at everything, myself, the charts, the world. Day 7, my wife looked at me and said, "You look different." Day 10, for the first time in years, I felt clarity. Not motivation, not excitement. Clarity, stillness. That's when I realized I wasn't a trader. I was a junkie, a dopamine addict dressed as a professional. And the worst part, the market didn't care. It never does. So what do? You detox, deliberately, systematically, because cold turkey doesn't work. You can't just delete MetaTrader and hope to be free. You need to rebuild your brain. The dopamine detox protocol, week 1, no phone in the bedroom, alarm clock across the room, first urge to check markets, 20 push-ups. Week 2, charts open only during market hours. After hours equals gym, walk, family. Weekend equals markets don't exist. Week 3, only check trades 3x per day. Set alerts, ignore the rest, treat charts like medicine, prescribe doses only. Week 4, trade equals reward. Morning workout earned right to trade, no workout, no charts. Period. This isn't about punishment. It's about recalibrating your nervous system, because you can't trade from clarity if your brain is flooded with constant hits of stimulation. You can't stick to your system if your biology is hijacked by anticipation. You don't need more discipline. You need space. Space from the noise, space from the need, space from the false urgency that dopamine creates. And when you give yourself that space, you start seeing the market for what it is. Not a game, not a savior, not a high, just a place where patterns meet behavior. A mirror, not a drug. So let me ask you something. Can you go 48 hours without checking a chart? If not, you're not trading, you're using. And the market, it's not your business partner, it's your dealer. But addiction is just the symptom. The real question is, why do you need to escape in the first place? Let me tell you something that may sound insane at first. The market doesn't exist. I'm serious. What you think of as the market, the charts, the price action, the candlesticks, it's just light on a screen. Pixels in motion, neutral, silent, empty. Until you look at it. And the moment you do, it becomes a mirror. The market doesn't show you truth. It shows you you. Here's how I know. I've run this experiment with hundreds of traders. Same chart, same time frame, same exact moment in the market. I put 10 traders in 10 separate rooms and ask one question. What do you see? Trader 1 says, "This looks like a bull trap. I think it's about to dump." Trader 2 says, "Breakout incoming. It's finally going to fly." Trader 3 says, "Manipulation. Market makers hunting stops again." Trader 4, "It's consolidating. I'm waiting." Same chart, same candle, same data. 4 different realities. Why? Because none of them are actually seeing the market. They're seeing their own psychology projected onto the chart. Fear sees danger. Greed sees opportunity. Anger sees manipulation. Desperation sees salvation. The chart is neutral. It's just light and math. But the person looking at it, they bring everything with them, their beliefs, their mood, their story, their trauma, and what they see on that screen is filtered through all of it. That's why 2 traders can look at the same setup and one goes long while the other shorts, and both think they're right, because to each of them, they are. Let me take this deeper. There was a time in my life when I couldn't see setups anymore. The same patterns I'd traded for years vanished, not from the market, but from my perception. Why? Because my personal life was chaos. My wife was sick. My family was scared. I was terrified. And when your internal world is chaos, you only see chaos on the screen. The market hadn't changed, but I had. And because of that, my perception did too. This is backed by science. The reticular activating system in your brain filters the millions of bits of information you receive every second. And what does it let through? Whatever matches your current emotional state. So if you're calm, grounded, focused, you see clean setups, clear risk, structured opportunity. But if you're anxious, tired, triggered. You see false signals, random spikes, traps, confusion, same chart, different brain, different universe. That's why trading isn't about pattern recognition. It's about state recognition. Before you even open the charts, you've already determined what you'll see and how you'll react to it because you don't trade the market, you trade your internal state. Try this. Tomorrow morning, before you trade, sit down, close your eyes, ask yourself, what do I feel? What am I expecting from the market today? What am I afraid might happen? Write it down, then look at the charts. Notice what stands out to you. Later, after the day ends, come back to that journal entry. Compare what you felt versus what you traded, what you feared versus what actually happened, what you expected versus what you saw. Do this for 10 days. You'll be shocked because the correlation between your state and your trades is terrifyingly real. When you're in fear, every small red candle looks like a crash. Every fake out looks personal. Every loss feels like proof that you're not enough. When you're in greed, you start seeing opportunities everywhere. You force entries that don't exist. You size up when you should walk away. But when you're calm, the chart speaks clearly. The noise fades, and the market starts to feel like music, a rhythm you can sense instead of chase. This is what I call the market mirror theory. The market is not objective. It is your own consciousness made visible. And when you realize that, you stop blaming. You stop saying the market is rigged. You stop saying my system is broken. You saying this week was manipulated, because none of those are true. What's true is that your internal state was off. And that's what created the chaos. Let me say this clearly. You cannot see opportunity from a place of fear. You cannot see danger from a place of arrogance. You cannot see the truth if you are emotionally attached to a particular outcome. The market doesn't lie, but your state does all the time. So what's the solution? Don't just journal your trades, journal your state. Make that the first thing you track every day, because your biggest edge as a trader is not your system, it's your self-awareness. Imagine this. You wake up, you're tired, you're anxious, you're emotionally off, and you know it, so you don't trade. Not because your system says no, but because your state says no. That decision alone could save your month, maybe your year, maybe your career. The most dangerous trader isn't the one without a strategy. It's the one who doesn't know who they are when they're clicking that mouse. Because that trader is flying blind, not through the market, but through themselves. So tomorrow, before you place a trade, ask, am I seeing the market or am I just seeing my own fear? Because until you know the difference, you're not a trader, you're a mirror, calling it analysis. Transition to next part. If the market is a mirror, then maybe all those losses weren't punishment. Maybe they were trying to show you something deeper, something buried about what you really believe you deserve. If you've made it this far, you're not here for strategy. You're not here for quick wins. You're here for something much deeper. You've already sensed it, haven't you? Trading is not about the market. It's about you, who you are, what you believe, how you react under pressure. It's not about beating the system. It's about facing the systems that have been running you since childhood. It's not about profit. It's about pattern, the ones you live in and repeat unconsciously. Because once you've blown enough accounts, once you've watched yourself make the same mistake over and over again, you start to realize this isn't about money anymore. This is about liberation. You came here to master trading, but now maybe you're starting to see trading was never the end goal. It was the mirror, the teacher, the battlefield, and your real opponent was never the market. It was always you, the version of you that still believes you have to struggle to be worthy. You need to prove yourself. You can't have ease or peace or wealth without punishment, that you must suffer in order to succeed. And the market, it didn't punish you. It reflected you until you were ready to see it. So now the question becomes, what kind of game are you playing? Because there are two kinds, the finite game and the infinite game. The finite game is what most traders play. It's full of rules, goals, wins, losses. You try to beat the market, you compare yourself to others, you chase milestones, $100 a day, $1,000 a week, 6 figures a year. But here's the thing, every finite game ends, and most end in burnout. Because when your identity is attached to outcome, you're only ever one losing streak away from emotional collapse. But the infinite game, that's different. The infinite game is played to keep playing, not to win once, but to evolve continuously. In the infinite game, success isn't measured in dollars, it's measured in depth, in how calm you stayed during the storm, in how consciously you responded when fear hit, in how deeply you understand yourself now compared to last month, last year. In the infinite game, every trade is feedback, every emotion is data, every trigger is a door to something that needs healing. You stop asking, how can I win more? And start asking, what is this moment trying to teach me? Who am I becoming through this process? Am I still aligned or am I chasing again? You begin to trade less, but feel more. You size down, but think bigger. You lose the thrill and gain the peace. And one day, without even realizing it, you wake up and notice you're not obsessed anymore. You're present, calm, detached, not because you don't care, but because you finally understand the outcome was never the reward. You are. That's the shift. You stop trading to fix your life. You start trading as a way to meet yourself, to sharpen your edge, to quiet the noise, to return to stillness over and over again. And from that stillness, clarity, confidence, consistency. You won't need to prove anything anymore, not to Twitter, not to your friends, not even to yourself, because you'll know I'm not playing to win, I'm playing to grow. And I'll be here long after the others burn out because this is who I am now. So if you've been wondering when you'll make it, maybe the real question is, what version of me do I need to become so that making it is inevitable? And that answer, it's not in the charts, it's not in the indicators, it's not in some YouTuber's strategy, it's in the mirror. And if you've been paying attention, you've already been looking at it this whole time. This is the infinite game. There is no final boss, no finish line, no fireworks, just the next breath, the next moment of awareness, the next conscious trade. And that's enough, because this time you're not trading to escape yourself, you're trading to meet yourself fully, finally, forever. Thank you for walking this path with me. If this spoke to you not just as a trader, but as a human being, share it, reflect on it, and above all, keep playing. If this video spoke to something deeper in you, not just the trader, but the human underneath, don't just keep it to yourself. Leave a comment. What part of this hit you the hardest? Subscribe if you're done chasing noise and ready to trade from clarity. Share this with a trader who needs to hear the truth, not more strategies. And if you're ready to go deeper, you know where to find me.